Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Coward Crawford. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone. When you're looking at stuff on Twitter, some of the comments people say about fighters, they say all kind of craziness, and it's pretty entertaining. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I've ever heard anyone call Coward a Crawford, or call Coward a Crawford. Call Crawford a coward. Now, I just happened to be going through the comments, and I saw this one, and what jumped out at me was, Bud is a coward. And I said, damn, what the hell is going on? Because I know some people don't agree with Terence Crawford's resume. Why, I don't know. Some people still feel that Crawford, for some reason, didn't want to fight a lot of the top names at 147. And listen, I'm not here to tell anyone they're wrong, but what I'll say is, from what I know, there's no truth to that. Terence Crawford deserves all the respect in the world for what he brings to the table, and for the fights that he was able to take and he was able to make. And when you take into consideration the boxing politics and stuff like that, it's not really his fault. But that being said, back on this thing about calling Terence Crawford a coward. What he says is this, Bud is a coward. Ben called it before the Spence fight. It's the reason he ducked all the contenders on the way to fighting Spence and not willing to honor the rematch. What are we talking about here? Bud could have fought Boots and Thurman 3 or 4 fights ago, but only fought people that he basically was supposed to beat. Bud's a coward. Okay, that's what he says. Bud's a coward. Ben called it before the Spence fight. So Terence Crawford's a coward. You called it before the Spence fight. He fought Spence, because if Terence Crawford was a coward, why would he have fought Spence? Now, if you say Terence Crawford's greedy, or Terence Crawford, he didn't really know how to negotiate, or if you say Terence Crawford's not marketable, then I could understand where you're coming from. Not saying I would agree, but I could understand your position. But when you say he's a coward and you called it before the Spence fight, and then Terence Crawford, he didn't just let that fight go. He and Spence continued to engage and have conversations, and they both made the fight. And then Terence Crawford went into that fight, and we all saw the fight, right? Put the Omaha, Nebraska Bing Bings on Earl Spence. And then you're going to come and say, it's a reason he ducked all the contenders on the way to fighting Spence? Okay. Terence Crawford, when he was on Top Rank, all right, they were trying to make fights with Danny Garcia. Now, these guys wanted a lot of money. They were trying to make the fight with Keith Thurman. Even on Top Rank, they tried to make the fight with Pacquiao. Now, everyone's going to have their own version, right, of what went wrong. But when you look at the common denominator in things, boils down to all these guys. And Crawford's very vocal about wanting to fight him, and all those guys talking about the money. I'm not going to say they were pricing themselves out, because they would fight. They're just like, hey, if I'm going to get into a fight with Terence Crawford, which, see, this is the thing. A lot of people know Crawford from an amateur, hear the sparring stories, and know him in the professional ranks as a guy who, see, real recognizes real. These fighters know Terence Crawford ain't no joke, man. So if these guys are going to go and fight a guy like Terence Crawford, they want to get paid. So you can't blame Terence Crawford. People are acting like Terence Crawford was going to get paid an $8 million payday to fight Keith Thurman. And Crawford said no to it, and Thurman said yes. Nah, man, that's not how it worked. But long story short, he took the fights that he could get with the people who would fight him. Simple. But that's neither here nor there. He finally had an opportunity after he got away from Top Rank, which I think had some to do with him not getting the fights he wanted. Because, y'all, look, without me peeling the layers back, right? Just keep it real simple and be succinct. That other side of the street talk shit was going on for years. We all know it. It was stupid. And when it comes to these networks and to these platforms, if they can take their stable and have their guys fight each other because they have enough elite fighters and in divisions, that's what they're going to do because they keep the money in-house. It's smart business, but it sucks for us as fans because as a result, you can have, stuff like this. Start seeing fighters as cowards. But to say he ducked all the contenders, man, hold your horses. But nonetheless, he goes and he beats the top dog. Spence wasn't. You gotta look at it like this: Spence beat Sean Porter. Spence beat Ugas. Spence beat Danny Garcia. You can just stop right there, okay? Crawford beat Spence. So what are we talking about? So I don't get it. I'm not saying because Crawford beat Spence that he would have beat those guys. I'm not saying that's how that formula works. But what I am saying is, even if Spence didn't fight those guys, I truly believe Crawford would beat those guys anyway. And I think deep down they know that. They don't want to mess with no damn Terence Crawford, man. But to come down and say Terence Crawford is not willing to honor the rematch contract between him and Spence expired. Crawford wanted to fight Spence. He wanted to do the rematch. It's one thing, I want to make this clear about Terence Crawford and the Spence rematch. I'm not going to come and act like I know what the rematch said because I haven't seen it. Only the fly on the wall knows. All these bozo content creators who are saying, well, I saw the contract, but I can't give away my sources of information. That's because they don't have no fucking source. But what I want to say is, if there's any fighter that Terence Crawford would have broke his neck to give a rematch to, and would have waited, I would say a more than reasonable amount of time, it's Earl Spence. Because Terence Crawford, he said it on numerous occasions. If it wasn't for Earl Spence, this fight wouldn't have happened. And I truly believe that's why Crawford has been out the ring as long as he has, is because he was, trying his best to be like, hey, come on, Earl. Let's go, Earl. But Earl Spence comes up with, he had eye issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In addition to that, forget Earl Spence and the quote-unquote excuses that he's come out with about losing the fight, as he was savagely beat down by Terence Crawford. Like, that wasn't an ass whipping. That was what you call an ass whooping. Okay? So Terence Crawford would have given Earl Spence the rematch. But I do think there were people sitting back having a conversation and said, "No, what? This rematch doesn't need to go on." Because I personally think the concern was about Earl Spence, getting killed in that ring. I'm not saying that for shock value. I truly believe that, like, you just don't know what's going on with him, his body, car accidents, 2 car accidents, or whatever else, then getting the shit beat out of him by Terence Crawford. And Earl Spence was in mash-up, crash-up type fights. Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Ugas. I mean, forget the Terence Crawford fight. The car accident and those fights alone, that shit does something to you. And then to go in there and your last fight, your most recent fight, you're there with Terence Crawford, and you get the Omaha, Nebraska bing beans put on you, that's not good. But understand this about Earl Spence. Earl Spence was the guy. Remember, even out of his own mouth. Yeah, I fight Canelo 168, man. I'm big and strong. Yeah, I can beat Canelo, right? Everybody talking about Earl Spence from 147 to 168 could possibly go up to heavyweight and fight Anthony Joshua. I mean, just stupid shit. And I truly believe Earl Spence, before the car accident, probably could bang at 168. I know he has the heart to do it, but would he have won? I don't know. But all I know is right now, when it comes to Terence Crawford, and talking about him not wanting to honor the rematch, what's he supposed to do? Wait a year and a half? I mean, shit, that rematch should have happened in December. So, anyway, the rematch clause in the contract expired, which I think is brilliant that was put in there, because that gave Crawford an out if he ended up in a situation like this. Kind of like what Tyson Fury was talking about in his rematch clause with Deontay Wilder. He ended up going, this shit went to, arbitration, and because of that clause in the contract, Fury had to fight him. He missed out on a huge opportunity to face AJ. Big money. Bottom line is, I'm glad Crawford had that in the contract. I don't know if he put it in, Al put it in, Earl put it in. Bottom line, it was in the contract. So, good job well done. But to come down and talk about, he could have fought Boots and Thurman 3 or 4 fights ago, but only fought people that he basically was supposed to beat. You know what? I got a friend named Mills. I know when he sees Terence Crawford's name and the title of this video, he's going to watch this video in entirety. In addition, I know Mills is going to comment, because he's going to be like, what the F is going on? Because Mills is a diehard Crawford fan. So I'm going to let him peel the layers back. But that's not true about Crawford. Could have fought Thurman, could have fought Boots. There's so many moving pieces when it comes to Boots. This BLK Prime thing, Boots wanting to go from the damn WBO to the IBF. There's so much there. So just to say, make a blanket statement like Terence Crawford could have fought Boots and Thurman, he just put duck sauce on the fried rice. That's not true. It's not true at all. And that he just fought people he was basically supposed to beat. That's not true either. Okay? Because I tell you what, we're talking about what, Mean Machine? You telling me if Mean Machine didn't put a little more torque on that right hand he hit Terence Crawford with, that Terence Crawford would have been knocked out cold? Okay? So let's hold our horses now. Because Terence Crawford was getting binged in that fight until he made the adjustments. But if Mean Machine would have put a little more torque on that shot, Crawford would have been knocked out cold. If Sean Porter, whatever hell happened to him in that fight with Crawford, Crawford was losing. If Porter would have trained as hard as I guess he normally trains, but he didn't go into the Crawford fight, is what it sounds like, according to Kenny Joe Jackson Porter, maybe Porter would have upset the apple cart and got a win against Crawford. The bottom line is, Avanesian, I get it. People are like, hey, who's this guy? But Avanesian could scrap. And he was touching up Crawford early, but then Crawford went into the phone booth, turned to Southpaw Man, and did what he does. But that being said, Coward Crawford, man, I just think that's not, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. None of these boxers are cowards. But as far as when I say someone putting duck sauce on the fried rice, I'm just not aware of any situations where someone is putting duck sauce on the fried rice out of fear. Yeah, can Crawford fight Jerome Boots in this? Yeah, he can, but if you haven't, I'll put it to you this way, right? This is boxing, it's a business. If you have an opportunity to fight for $10 million, $15 million more, opponent X, than fighting Jerome Boots Ennis, what decision you gonna make? Okay, now I'm telling you right now, just like if they would have given Keith Thurman, I think he wanted 12 million or some shit to fight Crawford, 10 or 12 million. If they would have given Danny Garcia an 8-figure purse, the 10 or 12 million, I'm telling you they would have fought Terence Crawford. But it all boils down to money. And Crawford's in a position now where he wants the big paydays because he's looking to exit the sport. It doesn't make him a coward. Not a guy with 41 fights. I didn't even pull up his box rec thing, but 30 knockouts or some shit. Not him. Y'all got to hold your horses and stop taking to the stupid on that. That being said, y'all keep cool. But whenever I see comments like this, it gets my attention. And I'll know to do a video about it. Anyway, in the breeze.